Alright, so this lesson is going to be about what you probably thought geometry was going to be about the whole time. It's lesson 1.6, and this is going to be about 2D figures, which is a fancy way of saying shapes. And specifically, we're going to talk about area and perimeter. We're going to draw some pictures and label some shapes first. So we're going to start out with 4 shapes. Start with triangle. We're going to talk about rectangles, squares, and finally circles. Okay, so let's start out with just some pictures real quick. You've seen triangles before, so we're going to draw and label a triangle. So let's say we have this triangle. Well, everybody knows that this is the base and this is the height. The important things that you recognize or that you understand is that the base and the height are perpendicular. Okay? Another way that you might see this drawn, which is a little more complicated but not too difficult. We have a triangle base like this, and this would be called an obtuse triangle, which we'll learn more about when we get into a unit that's all about triangles. But in this triangle, we have a base down here, but our height is this distance. So we can think about this bottom extending across here and being perpendicular there. So this is our height. So just something to think about when you're looking at pictures. Don't always assume. Some people immediately will make the height be right here like this, and that doesn't make any sense. That's not how tall it is. All right, so let's look at our rectangles. Everybody knows what a rectangle looks like. We've seen hundreds of them, right? So in a rectangle, we're used to seeing length and width, which is fine and is all good, but what we're going to start to work with a little more and try to get more comfortable with is not length and width, but base and height. And know that those are used interchangeably. So length and width, base and height, it all means the same stuff. Don't get too worked up about it. Okay, everybody's seen a square. So in a square, they also have side lengths, and they're typically S and S because they're the same. But you want to be equally comfortable working a problem where it's talking about base and height. So just know that base, height, length, width, side, all the same stuff. And then our last part is our circles. So we're just going to draw one circle. So we'll try to draw a good one. I failed. That's okay. All right, so every circle has a center. And from that center to the side is a radius. And then you also know that if we do the entire distance across the circle through the center, that's the diameter. So just kind of get your mind thinking about what you already know about all these shapes. We're going to write some things directly under all of these. So if you want to divide this up, if it makes your notes easier to keep up with, it's fine. It's hard to draw straight lines on this computer. Alright, so we are going to talk about perimeter for a minute. How do you find the perimeter of a triangle? There's not really a formula for it, right? I mean, there is. It's like this. Perimeter equals A plus B plus C. That's assuming your triangle, you have an A, B, C, 3 sides, all that good stuff. But really, just add up the sides, right? There's really not, you don't need to write down a formula, just add up the sides. That's how you find the perimeter of a triangle. Now, to find the perimeter of a rectangle, again, we can just add up the sides, but there's a legitimate formula that sometimes is a little more effective. So, the perimeter of a rectangle is 2b plus 2h, or 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. Same thing, and I know you've seen that before. So on to our square. Well, it's add up all the sides again, or we can say that the perimeter is 4s, right? Because the sides are all the same, so 4 times the number of sides would be the perimeter. And then on to our circle, where it's not exactly perimeter, but it's the same idea. It's the distance around the edge of the circle. So that's called circumference. And you already know this, so this is kind of a review. So the circumference of a circle is equal to pi times the diameter. Or, you might remember, it's equal to 2 pi r, which is the exact same thing because the diameter equals 2r. So we can substitute the 2r for the d, and it's all good. It's the same exact thing. Now we're going to do area. So to find the area of a triangle, there's only one formula, but it can be written 2 different ways. So there's area equals 1/2 base times height, or there's area equals base times height divided by 2. Same exact formula. You can write it either way. Doesn't matter. Area of a rectangle, area equals base times height, or area equals length times width. Just depends on what they give you in the problem. Now for the area of a square, that can be s squared, or they can be base times height. Again, just depending on if the problem says the base is 4 and the height is 4, well, it's base times height, 4 times 4. If it says all the sides are 4, it's 4 squared, 4 times 4. So, either way. Alright, last thing is our circle. To find the area of a circle, we use the formula pi r squared. And there's no other variations of this. That's it. It's just pi r squared. A lot of people put the 2 pi r for area because they remember the 2, but don't get them mixed up. They're not the same thing. Alright, last little thought I want to leave you with, and this is a big one. This is a lot of your ability to do some of these problems is going to hinge on your ability to understand this simple concept. Base and height are perpendicular. And I know you might say, oh, you just said that, we get it. It's going to be an issue when we move down the road. Okay, so we're going to draw a couple of quick pictures. So here is a triangle, and it's a right triangle. So hopefully you see that this could be the base and this could be the height. But those can also switch, right? Either one of those could be the base and either one of those could be the height, because one of them's not flat on the ground. So you can't get it stuck in your head that the base is always on the ground, right? The base and the height are perpendicular, and that's what we have to remember. So we're going to draw another picture of a trapezoid. Even though this isn't a shape we did, I just want you to kind of get the picture. So here's our trapezoid, right? So this is the base, and then this is the height. But remember, in a trapezoid, and we'll get to this later with the formula, has a B1 and a B2. So if we turn that trapezoid, and this is something that kids start to struggle with, is what happens in geometry here in high school, is the shapes start to move. So if we turn that, a lot of them want to say that this is now the height. But you can't do that. The base and the height are always perpendicular. So this is still the height. This is one of the bases, and this is one of the bases. So remember, base and height perpendicular. And that's the key to being able to use all these formulas very quickly and very easily. So that's it. See you tomorrow.